Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker podcast brought to you by Dirty Duck Coffee. I'm just regular old Jeff Stanfield sitting here with the world famous Andy Shaver.
He's a dickhead, Michael. He just comes by naturally. I'm Andy.
Total dad move.
Yeah, that's all he is.
You are world famous.
Yeah.
You called yourself that 2 podcasts ago.
I lean into things, Jeff. We've gone over this. I lean into things. There's no sense in fighting it because you're not going to let me go.
Michael, are you a married man?
I am a married man, yep.
Could you imagine saying this about your wife, is that nobody would know who she is if it wasn't for me?
Oh, no. I hope she doesn't listen to the podcast.
Oh, she does. She does. We're getting a shirt made with her picture on the front. It would say nobody would know who this bitch was if it wasn't for this asshole in the back.
Oh, boy.
There's a background story here. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad what I said, but
It's not bad what you said.
It's not as bad as what he's making it out to be, Michael.
Okay.
It's not as trust me. I would never say that. I've got a great wife. She supports me in everything that I do. I would not purposefully put her down if they had not backed me into a corner and forced me to do it.
Sounds like she'd starve to death if she wasn't married to you.
On the show with us today, we're 2 minutes in, and I've not even got to do the introduction.
Okay.
We've got Michael Hunsucker from Heartland Bowhunter. We're excited to have you today.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Now you've been in Colorado going after the longbeards, and you said that they're in a particular mood right now. What's going on in Colorado?
Oh, man. They were just tough. You know, it was, I don't know. I can never seem to explain the phenomenon that happens occasionally when they just get in this mood in this way where they literally act like you don't even exist. You know, don't even acknowledge the decoys, don't even acknowledge calling. You know, a lot of times it's similar to like when they're flocked up, but even middle of the day, call in birds and like they hang up when they see the decoys or like start putting and like walking the other way. You're like, what is going on? But we actually kicked things off in Kansas for the spring, for the early archery season. Had a great few days there, and it was like polar opposite. We were all excited, got to get to Colorado, and it couldn't have been any different.
Now, Colorado, they just had a big snowstorm, like cold weather. Do you think that could have contributed to it at all? Or not where you were?
So we were actually on the eastern plains, okay. So not up in the mountains. We were hunting Rios, and so it definitely is cold. Like it was the first morning. I looked at the extended forecast before we went, but obviously it was like 10 days out because we were going to Kansas first. And the first morning I wake up and Brandon had sent me a screenshot of his phone and it said 24 degrees. Oof. It feels like 17. I was like, what? I was like, this is a joke. This is not turkey hunting weather. But being on the eastern plains there, the temperatures fluctuate. It was literally 65 or 70 that day later. So it's just they drop in the middle of the night and then they shoot back up during the day. So.
You know, our birds are where the Colorado birds are right now. I've got a buddy here of mine, Stoner. So we had clients all last week, and they never really felt like they were firing on all cylinders. And then Stoner and I were hunting, just kind of fun hunting on our own. And same type deal. And I've noticed with the clients, afternoons have been particularly tough. Not getting a whole lot of gobbling, not really seeing them moving around a whole lot. And then Stoner and I, that's his last name, not his hobby, but we had a lone tom, 9 o'clock, gobbling about every 10 seconds. We make a move on him. We see him through a clearing. We call a little bit. He gets to about 45. And I do just a little bit of putting, and then he starts just kind of going the other way. It's like, what the hell? You're by yourself. Yeah. You're alone. You got no hen with you.
Yeah. Those birds, man, they can be so frustrating. They just like I all the time. It's like I talk about like giving them too much credit because you're like they're just not that smart. They just don't have a rhyme or reason sometimes. Sometimes they just do dumb stuff for no reason. So it's just like they can be frustrating.
For sure.
You think the cold weather's got a lot to do with it? Because here we are in West Texas, and typically by now we're hitting 80 to 85 is not that unusual, and it's going to be 55, 60 degrees today for the third, fourth day in a row. It's cold in the mornings. It's 42, 43, and we're supposed to be in the 30s again this weekend. and it's supposed to be that way all next week also.
Yeah. I don't know if it has to do with the where they're at in the breeding cycle, and how that affects it. I'm sure that to an extent the weather definitely affects it, but yeah, I never really minded cooler weather as long as it's like sunny and crisp. They seem to still be fired up and getting after it. It's when it gets cloudy and dreary and wet, and then they're no fun to hunt. But as long as it's sunny and it warms up later in the day, they seem to be pretty fired up.
So, how hard is it to shoot a freaking turkey with a bow? They got eyes on them like you can't imagine.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, we get we get that all the time we primarily bow hunt, obviously Heartland Bowhunter. That's what we have cut our teeth on. And I love bow hunting turkeys, but it is very, very difficult. And we don't hunt. We primarily hunt without ground blinds too, pop-up blinds. So we'll run and gun and kind of just tuck in, or we carry like a little it's called a fast strike blind. It just holds some cover and just throw it in front of us, so we can kind of be mobile a little bit. It's still tough, like filming and trying to set up and everything still is not as efficient and quick as you can be with a shotgun and one decoy or whatever. But man, yeah, it is tough. I feel like I've learned a lot over the years of like just watching the birds and when to move. Getting drawn is the hard part, right, obviously without a blind. And we do rely heavily on decoys. A lot of guys, won't use decoys. We'll just call the birds. And if you're shotgun hunting, no problem. But you got to get the focus off of you. And so, waiting for them to turn, strut away. That's like the best, obviously, opportunity to draw. And sometimes it's hard to be patient. It's super, super exciting. You get a hot gobbler coming in, gobbling and strutting and spitting and drumming right in your face at 15, 20 yards. You're all amped up and ready to go. And it's hard to just wait and be patient for that right opportunity. But I think patience is the key when it comes to being successful with a bow, for sure.
Well, and you've got a freaking cameraman that you got to worry about. Like if he doesn't see it, like all this shit was for nothing.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I'm overly cautious about like covering everything up, so we got big ghillie suit deal to throw over the cameras and hide the cameras. But for example, like Colorado, our first morning, we roosted them the night before, got close. They flew down, kind of, doing their pecking order thing. And here comes a gobbler, comes right in, struts right into the decoy. And he just gets right next to the decoy and then like just freaks out and just like starts walking away. And I was like, what happened? Like, I was like, it was like he saw us for sure, but I don't know how he saw us. Like we had like laid down a bunch of dead cottonwood fall. And I feel like we had a really nice secluded setup there. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, and sometimes, maybe it's the lens flare, the flare off of the glass of the lens. I don't know. But like, he literally just instantly changed his mood. His snood was hanging and he just put one up and started walking straight away. Well, then I was actually filming Brandon, who Brandon films me primarily full time. And I told him this spring we had an opportunity to go out to Colorado. And I told him, I said, you bring the bow. I want to film you getting one. And as that bird started to walk away, he then tried to maybe slowly draw, and he definitely saw us then and just kind of scooted out of there. So it's tough. But like anything, I think it's way more rewarding shooting one with a bow in the end. I mean, I like to shotgun hunt them too. And I've shot several over the past years with shotguns, but I seem to get that heated debate all the time, shotguns versus bows.
Do you feel like you're cheating whenever, because, I mean, you've got a freaking show built around Heartland Bowhunter. I mean, do you feel like you're kind of cheating whenever you bring out the shotgun to shoot a bird?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely leveling the playing field, but it usually doesn't happen until it needs it to happen. Like in Colorado, after 4 days of chasing them with a bow, and it was like, okay, like I'm mad at these birds and they're not cooperating, so let's get it done.
Let's even the playing field a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I can't. A lot of my buddies will turkey hunt with a bow. I'm telling you, man. There's times when that Tom's got me pinned down, and my shotgun is like half-ass on my shoulder, but not all the way up, and it's hard just getting it up, that shotgun up even like 6 inches. I couldn't imagine like having to fully draw your bow without getting busted.
Yeah, I mean, there's times when there's been hunts like you get a gobbler come in and he just. He comes in strutting, but then he gets to the decoys and just maybe loses a little confidence if you got a Jake decoy out or another male decoy, and he doesn't quite fully commit, and you're stuck there like with no opportunity to draw. So your options are don't draw, let him walk off, and hope to hunt him another day, or chance him seeing you. And a lot of times, if you draw smoothly and quickly, you can still get a shot off. Or if they look the other way and you get, make it happen quick. But sometimes you draw and they'll just freaking run, and then you're like, great. Well, now I didn't get a shot and I super educated them. But so it's like I said, it's just a matter of waiting for that right moment or trying to figure out when that right moment is.
See, I'm team decoy also. A lot of guys, that's another freaking thing that cuts a lot of people down the middle, like decoy or no decoy. I like decoys because I just like the show that they put on. Like when he's hot
Absolutely.
and he's ready to go and he beats the shit out of that decoy, I like it.
Me too. Yeah, that's like the most exciting thing when they come in and start spurring the decoy, jumping on top, and it's fun, like spitting and drumming and watching them work and all that. Like even if you're not using a decoy, it's still fun and exciting, but it's just different, And that's what I kind of like about turkey hunting is all the different areas are a little bit different. Birds are a little bit different, the way they act, their behaviors, their how they tend to behave, and so they're all a little different. Little tactics work differently, better in different areas. So.
Yeah. Have you got to go to? Have you got the oscillated one yet?
No, I have not. and I have not shot I've not been to Florida either. I was actually supposed to go last year.
COVID.
I think because of COVID, they kind of shut things down or whatever, and didn't go and hadn't made a plan to go back. But I love turkey hunting, but it's like I live in just outside of Kansas City, Missouri. So like we're in Missouri, awesome turkey hunting. I'm 30 minutes from Kansas. I'm an hour and a half from Nebraska, an hour and a half from Iowa. So like we have so much opportunity right here, close, that it's like it's hard to get excited to travel 12 hours to hunt turkeys for me. But I would do it. I would like to go to Florida just for a different experience for sure.
You have to go to Mexico, don't you, or the Yucatan Peninsula for the oscillated one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, they're crazy, man. They're definitely crazy. But yeah, even Osceola, you can Southern Florida. But yeah, I've shot Rios and plenty of Easterns, and I've shot a couple Merriams out in like northwest Nebraska and out in that area. So got a little variety of them all. But shoot, they're all fun to hunt.
I noticed on your Instagram that you went to Alaska. Did you shoot was it a Dall sheep or a mountain goat?
It was a mountain goat, yeah. Yeah, Sean and I went to Alaska, would have been the September before last.
That's the hardest thing to hunt in America, they say.
Oh, yeah, it's, I think with mountain goats, it's more the getting there, you know what I mean? It's more the adventure and like getting to where they live, and hunting them where they live is the most difficult part. I felt like as far as like spot and stalk goes, like as far as like stalking, pursuing the animal, like I didn't feel like they were quite as keen as like a mule deer, just because they don't have any predators. Like mountain goats, like a brown bear, like might come after them, and they just like, okay, like they climb up a giant rock shelf and they're like, come on up if you want to get us. The bear just gives up and walks away. So they don't really have a ton of natural predators. So I think from that standpoint, they're just not quite as wire you're concerned. That being said, you got to get to these places where they live, and oh man, we had some brutal situations up there on the mountain. Some were pretty sketchy for sure.
Everyone that's told me that I've talked, anybody that's hunted with me or I know that's hunted them said it's so dangerous because you're walking on wet rocks all the time. It's straight down, and just one misstep and you're at the bottom of the deal. How close were you when you shot it?
I think I was about 25 or 30 yards to the goat that I shot. They had bedded over this ridge, and we were able to like just sneak up, and they were actually on where I shot my goat was actually a pretty tame mountain top. It was kind of, pretty grassy, and I mean, it was still steep, but nothing like the rock shelves and stuff that you see a lot of times. So, but it was cool. It was a really cool hunt. It's one of those hunts that I'd been wanting to do, for a long time. I'm not like gung ho on like goat hunting and doing all the, especially the high dollar expensive hunts like that. Just kind of turns me off, all the, the money involved in that. But the mountain goat thing was something that I actually did it with a buddy of mine that I grew up with, who went to high school with, Cole Kramer. who actually lives on Kodiak and guides up there full time now. And so he was actually my brother's best friend growing up. And so when he started going up there, I got to hear all these stories about he guides brown bear and mountain goat and blacktail. And so I've done a few hunts with him over the years and got to experience Kodiak to the fullest extent. It's a pretty wild place.
Did you have any run-ins with bears?
I don't think we did on the mountain goat hunt. I don't think we did see any on the mountain goat hunt. When I went on my deer hunt, the first hunt I did with them years ago, we saw one or two. It was December, so a lot of them were hibernating already or kind of moved off, and so we did see one or two. But then, obviously, I went probably 3 or 4 springs ago. I went for my brown bear hunt, and that was something else. Yeah, we saw lots of bears then. We were probably seeing 3 to 7 a day. But it's a cool place for sure.
How close did you shoot your brown bear at?
12 yards.
Fuck that.
Hell no.
Nope. No. Not doing it.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable to say the least. It was like one of those deals. It was weird. It was like, well, so Cole kind of specializes in doing bow hunts. The brown bear tag is like it's an any weapon tag. So most guides, if you're an outfitter and guide, you sell this hunt. It's a 14-day tag. The tag's good for 14 days. So everybody sells 14-day, 2-week hunts. Well, if you're going to be guiding a guy for 2 weeks or with a gun, you can get it done in 2 or 3 days. It's like, okay. So like most outfitters and guides don't like to mess with bow hunts, but Cole's that's kind of where he's kind of specialized. And it's pretty cool because basically what you do is you spot them, you watch, you look for them, and you locate them. And then once you find the one that you want to go after, you go after them and then you try to get within their comfort zone basically and use like a fawn in distress call to where they will actually come towards you.
So you're the bait.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the bear that I ended up shooting was on the 12th day of the hunt. It was a long, pretty grueling hunt. Almost killed a giant bear like the second day. And then for the 10 days after that, didn't even make a stalk, didn't even leave our glassing knob, didn't even pursue one. But then, the 12th day, we got up on this bear and he bedded in these alders. We were following him basically, and they're crazy, good sense of smell. And so obviously we were, on the downwind side, just following him, and he bedded in these alders. And we called, and it didn't work. And then we got closer and called, and nothing. So Cole started growling, imitating another boar, and tried to get them all fired up, and it worked. He came charging out of there and just came right to us. And it was one of those deals where, I grabbed my bow, I'm ready to go, and the bear's just coming, and he's coming right to us. And they get to a point where he sees us. They don't have great eyesight. They don't obviously associate humans with danger. Even they don't really know too much about human interaction, and so they just see something. They see a blob in the bush, and they're like, so he gets curious and comes right to us. Well, you can't shoot a brown bear facing because their head is blocking everything. It's so big. Well, he keeps coming, and he gets to like 12 yards, and there's like a little mound, and he puts his front paws on it, and just rears up and shows his chest. And Cole's like, shoot him. And I'm like, he's so close that I'm at full draw looking through my peep sight, and all I see is brown fur with all my pins. And I'm like, okay. So I look up, look down, and make sure my arrow. I just made sure I was somewhere close to the center of the chest, and squeezed it off, and it actually shot right through his heart, hit his shoulder blade on the backside. So he his arm rears back like this, and the arrow deflects, came out his back hind quarter.
Holy.
Full pass through 12 yards.
Holy.
And he just tumbled on the mountain and crashed right there. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a relief.
Yeah, because sometimes bears, they got just at 12 yards. That's not very far at all. But, you got to imagine some of these bears have just enough fight left to make it that 12 yards.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Or someone makes a bad shot.
Yeah, or a bad shot, and you just got a pissed off bear on your hands.
Did he have a gun?
Right,
Did he have a gun drawn in case you missed?
I wish I would have been more comfortable if he had it drawn, but it was sitting next to him. But I'm not a gun guy. It's a 475 H&H. Does that make sense?
But he didn't have it on his shoulder or nothing.
No, he had it laying next to him, but It's one of those deals. I mean, they're definitely dangerous, very dangerous animals, and they can be very aggressive.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals where, like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he could, like, I could have shot and he could have charged at us. But most of the time, I feel like they do. Like, even if I made a bad shot, they know the danger's in front of them, so they kind of would stray back to the side. That's what I'm telling myself, anyways. At this point, that's what I told my wife, at least when I got back.
Listen, I saw the Revenant. I know how it goes. Poor
yeah,
Leonardo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about the overlay of this hunt. You go walking and you're stalking a bear, then you piss him off to have him charge at you, and then you're shooting at him with a stick. I mean,
it doesn't sound so smart now.
And if you miss, he's 12 yards. They run like they can outrun a quarter horse. 12 yards ain't nothing. It takes some set of balls. I'm telling you, you should have special pants you wear to do that stuff.
How you walk around.
But the guy that just shoots white-tailed deer, he's thinking that some bitch is nuts.
Yeah.
Would you shoot a polar bear?
I don't know. I don't know if I would. I don't know. I don't understand enough about the polar bear population and how that, how all that works. But like I said, I'm not big on, like, filling any sort of list of animals, or, like, doing something that's super exclusive just to do it. I don't really, I'm not really about that so much. But I do love new experiences and hunting new things and learning. My biggest thing is I love learning just new ways of hunting, new tactics, different species, how every pursuit is a little bit different. I love learning all those different ways. So I would be open to a lot of things, but I don't know about doing a polar bear hunt.
What about a mountain lion? Have you ever shot one, or would you want to?
I have not, and I probably would. But to me, the mountain lion hunt's like kind of one of those deals where it's like, I feel like the mountain lion hunt's more about the guide and the dog and watching them work. I mean, that's the hunt. Shooting the mountain lion is just shooting the mountain lion. So, but I would love to see that process of the dogs working and tracking and following, and that's pretty cool. But it's one of those deals that, I guess I haven't been jumping at the bit to go do necessarily.
The shooting is secondary on the hunt when you use the dogs, because the dog is the hunt. I agree with you on that. I would like to see the dogs work, but to shoot a cat in a tree that's the dogs have got cornered up, that's secondary compared to the actual dogs working. But my fat ass ain't lugging all over a mountain doing that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this brown bear hunt I did was the first bear hunt I've ever done. I never did a black bear hunt just because, like with the mountain lion hunt, like if you want to kill mountain lions, that's how you have to do it to be effective. You got to tree them and shoot them. That's the only way to do it. Like black bear hunting, a lot of places it's so thick and so gnarly that, like, the only way to kill a black bear is to hunt them over a bait. And for me, like, that's not the most compelling or most attractive way of hunting, but I get it. Like, that is the only way to do it successfully. So, there's areas obviously you can spot and stalk black bears and do some different hunts. But I totally understand that, and that's part of certain hunts. But yeah, for me, I prefer the challenge of really fooling the game and actually, like, the stalk and making those decisions that play into being successful.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, and that's, I don't know, some of it, I think a lot of people that are, trying to be Instagram famous or whatever, like, it's kind of whatever, anything at all cost. But, a guy like you that's been all over the world, like, you appreciate the chase. You appreciate the process that has to go along with shooting something like this. So what happened on the second day? You said you had a chance on the second day, but it didn't come through.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, we had spotted this bear, and I'd never been on a brown bear hunt. Obviously, I've known about him. I've pretty understood, what a good bear was. But so we spotted this bear, and I'm like, that looks like a pretty big bear to me. I mean, they always look big, but I was like, is that a big bear, Cole? He's like, yeah, he's pretty nice. I said, well, we'll maybe go venture that way and check him out and just get a closer look. So we get in there, get a closer look at him, and he's like, yeah, he's pretty solid. Let's set up and try calling and call him in. And I was like, all right. I was like, okay. So we set up, and he starts calling, and the bear sits down on his hind quarters, like facing us, looking, and then just stands up and starts coming our way. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I was like, this is going to happen fast. And I was like, are we shooting this bear, Cole? Just to be clear, like, are we shooting this bear? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, yep. he's like, if you get a good, he said, what did he say? He said like, yeah, if you get a good opportunity, and he's nice and close, yeah, shoot this bear. So he comes in, and we're anticipating him coming to our right because the wind's kind of quartered, and he comes straight towards us, and he actually veers. I'm sorry, we were anticipating coming left, and he actually starts to veer right. So we thought he was going to try to circle downwind, but he actually veers right. He kind of sees us, and he gets to like 30, and there's a bush to my right, and so I draw back facing my left, and I'm on my knees, and so I kind of like shuffle around this bush to turn to the right. Well, he sees me, and he kind of looks and looks, and by the time I get settled and like just pick a spot, he like turns and starts to leave really slowly, and then he just kind of like bounds off and trots up, and I was like it's one of those deals where, like, had I known it was going to be 10 days later till I get the opportunity, and had I known that this bear was a giant, like world-class bear that Cole totally downplayed because he didn't want me to shit down my leg, and I would have shot like had that been day 12 and I'd known what I'd known, I would have made that shot. Like it wasn't an unmakeable shot, but it was one of those deals where the last thing you want to do is make a bad shot, because then like Cole's going to give me his gun and say shoot him, best case scenario, right. Or if the bear's going to disappear quick, Cole shoots him and that's your bear. So right. The last thing you want is the last thing I wanted was me or Cole shoot a bear with the bear with a gun. So I didn't so I kind of passed on that opportunity, but kind of one of those deals, like had I known what I know now, I would have made that shot. But you kind of one of those deals, you live and you learn. But I was like, really, Cole, like you're like, we have a different relationship than an average client hunter relationship. You could tell me like this is a big bear. I actually like prefer the pressure.
You prefer the pressure,
like slow playing it. Yeah, he downplayed it big time.
But you prefer the pressure. You're shooting a bow, and you want more pressure added onto you.
Well, I just would have liked to know. Like I felt like, second day, it seems like a decent bear. Like, doesn't happen. No worries. Not gonna force anything.
I see what you didn't feel urgent. Like you needed to make a shot. Like you didn't know that this was a world-class bear, and you're saying he didn't shoot you straight, basically.
Yeah, well, he didn't want me to get overly excited and do something I shouldn't do, which that's not my personality. So, but it was one of those deals. And I was like, day 2, no big deal, And right. Day 3 goes by, 4, 5, 6, they start like flying by, man. And it's like that bear hunt is like it's the most boring hunt you've ever been on until it's not. Right. We hiked up we camped on the river, hiked up maybe a quarter mile to this glassing knob, sat there every day, and in the springtime days are 17 hours long.
Wow. Sat there
all day long, glassing, drinking some hot water, coffee, eating some food, glassing, sleeping, glassing. It's extremely, extremely boring. But fortunately, I will say we were pretty lucky with the weather. Kodiak can be unforgiving and nasty and wet and cold. And for an April hunt, I think it was an April hunt. It was pretty enjoyable weather. So, but it's slow. It's boring until it's not, and it's the most exhilarating hunt in the world.
Everybody thinks that places like that have just bears running under every tree. Yeah, I mean,
Kodiak. So Kodiak has the best bear density population in the world. It's extremely target rich for bears, but like I said, we were seeing 3 to 7 a day, and you can see for 4 miles every direction. So you're seeing bears, but we're going after. You can only shoot boars or sows without cubs. We were obviously targeting boars, and we wanted to kill a big mature boar if possible. That was kind of our goal. A lot of people don't realize those boars they're crazy, man. They will track down sows with cubs and will kill these cubs just to make the sow go back into heat, because when a sow has cubs and she's nursing them for several years, she won't go back into heat for several years. So the bear hunting thing is a sensitive subject. I got death threats and all kinds of stuff from people that don't understand it. I mean, America, grows up with a teddy bear and they think, oh yeah, teddy bear, whatever. But man, they're vicious and they're crazy. And by killing, one of these grown boars that will, kill all these other bears, really is actually in turn saving more bears. And that's primarily why Kodiak's been so successful in managing their brown bear population.
So how you said you would have been good at 30 yards. Where where is kind of your cutoff? Where was your cutoff on that hunt? Where?
So I've been,
How close?
yeah, I mean, I'd been practicing like I normally do. I mean, out to 70, 80 yards. I actually set up a whole new setup for this bear, heavy arrow, high FOC, shooting a fixed blade head. So I'd done this setup specifically for this hunt. And Cole had told me, like, he's like, practice like you normally would out to long distance. Make sure these heavy arrows and your broadheads and everything are flying true with your setup. And so I tinkered and got everything dialed in, and I was shooting great. I mean, out to 60, 70 yards, had those arrows flying really, really nice. They were dropping off pretty good. They were like 500 grains, a little over 500 grains. And so they were dropping off pretty good out past 40 or 50. But yeah, I'd have to ask him for sure. But like 90% of the shots on the bear hunts when you're calling them in are 30 and under.
Right.
Most of them are 20 and under. Like that's just how it works. Just because when they come in towards you, so they're either gonna get so close and give you a frontal shot, or they'll veer off one way or the other. But they usually get really close before they veer off.
Now, you said that you got death threats after that.
Oh yeah,
PETA came out after you.
What's that?
PETA came out after you.
Yeah. I don't know if it wasn't PETA or PETA enthusiasts necessarily. I don't know. It's just a lot of people that don't understand it, and I try to respond. And actually, when I was like telling the story of the hunt and stuff, I really did a lot of informational posts about stuff, just so people understood, because that's, I mean, like I said, I'm not about just going to shoot stuff just to shoot it, just to say, oh, cool, look at me, I'm badass, I killed the bear, I killed a sheep that nobody else can do or whatever. Like, I'm not about that at all. That was just kind of one of my deals. Like, since I was growing up, like out of high school, and Cole started doing these hunts, like I was like, man, I want to do a brown bear hunt. Like, that is my bucket list hunt.
What amazes me is that people spend the time to go and bash stuff they know nothing about just for their cause that they really don't even have. I just can't imagine had that much time in my day. I can't think of anything in the world going on. Well, I don't like the current situation in politics, but I'm not going over to a Democrats page and ripping on them all day. I just don't have the time, or the desire to want to do that.
Because you're not going to change it. Like,
no.
Like, is one of these people going to change your mind for writing you a nasty email? Like, oh yeah, all of a sudden let me not do this anymore.
It's like the African hunt. If you go to Africa and you shoot an elephant, you're helping a whole village out. First of all, those elephants aren't just nice little pets that are at the zoo eating peanuts. They tear up a lot of shit, and they're dangerous. Mm-hmm. So if you kill a big bull elephant, you're taking away a dangerous animal from them. Plus, they're having something they've got food to eat. All that money's being spent in that village. It's the best thing for the economy right there. And they don't see that side of the deal ever.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of those controversial hunts are. It seems to be like, there's obviously reasons why those hunts occur and why they do, and there's a lot of positive that comes to them, but on the surface they just get a lot of negative attention just because of, the severity of it and what and just most of it's, rare, and most of them are like zoo type animals, like you said, where it's just like that's what everybody thinks an elephant is, and that's not the case.
And the majority of the people that are griping about you go to a grocery store and buy their groceries, but they don't realize that there's a cow that someone slaughters to feed them, or it's a wild animal. They do not they don't think you need to hunt or to kill a cow, that you just go to the grocery store and get your food. That's how stupid a lot of them are. So you're a big shed collector, right?
Oh yeah, I like to shed hunt. That's what we in Colorado. That's what half the time our turkey hunt turned into shed hunt. I got distracted. We'd be chasing the bird. We look over, see a shed. I was like, oh, let's just drop our stuff and find some more sheds. Like, these turkeys aren't cooperating anyway. So.
What's the biggest shed you found?
Oh man, I don't off the top of my head. I don't know. But I'm in Missouri. We got a lot of nice bucks, 170 type deer, 160, 170 type deer. I don't have anything crazy giant that I've found. I don't shed hunt. I also don't shed hunt places that I can't hunt just to find big sheds, really. I do enjoy it, but I like to find sheds off deer that I hunt, and I like to build history with deer and year after year kind of put those pieces together. And so in Colorado, it's pretty cool. We were going after these birds, and we kind of took the long way around specifically so we could kind of shed hunt, and stumbled across one of the bucks that we had hunted last fall, and actually one of the bigger ones that we had on camera. Found one of his sides, so that was pretty cool because we had not found any other sheds. So that's what I really like, is finding deer sheds that you have history with and know about, even if it's small. I had a set of sheds a couple years back where I had the 2-year-old set, 3-year-old set, 4-year-old set, and then killed them at 5. So
wow.
Just having all those sheds and to see how they develop and grow is pretty cool.
That is badass.
That's big business too.
Shed hunting?
Yes, because a lot of people sell them, don't they? Can you sell them overseas now?
Yeah, a lot of people sell them, and that's, I think, mainly more like the elk sheds stuff, and the people are selling them, because they just have so much bone, in the elk sheds. But for for whitetails, people can sell them. I don't sell any of mine, but most of them mean too much to me. But I don't know. You get to the point where, like, 5 years ago, you found a couple dinky forky horns. It's like, okay, those don't. Some of the other sheds are. Even I got a set right here sitting on my desk that off a buck that my buddy Skyler found. Probably 5 or 6 years ago. Just a really nice. I think he was probably a 3-year-old.
That's a 3-year-old.
3 or 4-year-old, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. He looks big on this camera. He's not. That's funny. Usually sheds, you can't make them look as big as they are. But really nice buck. But anyway, the next year disappeared. No idea what happened to this deer. I didn't have any sheds before, so like Skylar actually found him, and I let him keep him. I said, if I kill that deer, I'll want him back. But he found him and kept him, and he brought him to me just like a couple weeks ago. He's like, I had these at my house, and like they don't really mean anything to me. He's like, they mean more to you. And I was like, okay, cool. But they're cool sheds. But like I said, like those sheds are not ever ones that are gonna be mean a ton, because I don't know what happened to the deer. But I do love shed hunting for sure.
I need your camera. If you've got something that makes it look bigger on camera, that's the one that I need.
Do they have they have seasons in some places on sheds, don't they?
Yeah, out west they started doing seasons because it's public land, and people were, I don't know, I guess they wanted to kind of regulate, when people were going to be in and out, and which I think is, I don't know, it's kind of cool because like we have some stuff here locally that like conservation areas and parks that do like managed hunts that have some really big deer, and it kind of sucks because people get in there, they start shed hunting in like December 15th. You got to be the first person there to find the shed, right. And people walk it all the time. So it's kind of one of those deals where it's like, they have a shed season, so they wait and they kind of open the gates all at once, and then everybody kind of has a fair opportunity. And I think a lot of those places where they do have shed seasons are really high sought after units, like trophy units for elk and mule deer, where there's giant sheds worth a lot of money. And so it's kind of one of those deals. But I know there's people that have gotten caught, finding the sheds and stashing them, and I've heard some stories about all kinds of stuff. So.
It is flat pissing rain out here. We got a metal roof at our lodge where we do this, and it is coming down. You said they'll go December 15th. Are deer losing their antlers at that time? That's got to be early, isn't it?
Yeah. Some of the first ones lose them in December. Most of them don't start dropping until it just depends, but February, March. But a lot of deer this year did shed in January for us. I was hunting a buck and had him come out last day of season, January 15th. Nothing, no antlers. It was a buck that I've been hunting all season, but he dropped on like the 7th or 8th of January, I want to say.
I saw some deer. It was last year. It wasn't this spring. I saw deer in April that had horns still. Really weird.
Yeah. Crazy. So in Colorado, we saw a buck that still had little forky horns, still had both sides. And then I filmed the buck come right by our blind with big nubs and bases, velvet bases already. So it's so crazy to see the different.
That is because I saw a deer not too long. We were going turkey hunting, as a matter of fact, last week, and he had, it was just a little fork, but he still had his antlers on. Because our guides here, they went. When did they go to Albany to deer hunt? Was that at Christmas or was that in January?
No. That was the end of January, February. That was January. It was after hunting season was over here. They did an MLD hunt.
Okay, and all the deer had already lost their antlers. There, so I just figured whenever they started dropping, that all of them dropped.
What the big, like the elk and stuff, I see these guys that have these seasons in the West that you're talking about, the seasons for sheds. They take these deer or these elk horns, and I've seen guys that will put GPSs. They go in early on these places they can't get shed collecting, but they get GPSs and they make coordinates and they'll put them in trees and hide them and shit. Then they go back and get them. Well, what do these guys are? What's the price? It must be a huge market price for this to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about that side of things. I know that obviously the big fresh brown antlers are worth money because people want the antlers for like world class type, size animals. But as far as just like selling antlers in bulk, yeah, I know guys that do that. They just literally find them, even the browns or whites, the old ones, whatever. They buy them and sell them. But yeah, I don't know a ton about that market.
Well, was Ray Lewis? He was taking something that they took from the deer antler horn, and it was like a growth hormone,
like Viagra.
Yeah.
They give pecker medicine out of it.
There you go. Can you see that?
Yeah,
Move
sure
it over.
can.
Oh yeah, that was in Colorado.
That's that buck. Yeah.
And he's already got little nubs popping out.
He was growing through pretty good.
Have you ever shot? Have you ever shot a deer in velvet?
I have. Yep. Yeah. I shot one last fall in Nebraska, actually, early season.
I always think those are cool mounts.
And that was the first one. Yeah, I got one right. This one here is my first. Let's see if it'll show.
Yeah.
That's the first velvet buck I ever shot. I shot that in North Dakota.
Damn, it's big. What that score?
He was mid-70s. That's my second biggest whitetail ever. So
that's a big deer.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
that's a big deer.
He was my biggest whitetail ever for a long time. I shot him in like 2009, maybe, and I didn't top him till last 2 years ago, till 2019. So 10 years.
I've seen two deer in the wild that were. One of them was over 200, and one of them was over 180, and when you see a deer that big in the wild, not a high fence, nothing, it's just absolutely amazing how big they are. Yeah. And now we have a high fence ranch that's right by the river here, just 5 miles from the lodge, and they got 3 deer that probably will score 220 to 240. And you look at them and you think, well, that's just a fucking freak of nature. You just don't. It's just crazy how big. And what are they getting now? 300 high fence?
Oh, bigger than that, 400, I think. I mean,
how do they walk?
I think it's insane.
How do they walk?
I don't know.
I think they drag their
One
heads.
of my buddies is he's just had he's selling a high fence ranch here in Missouri, and he was sending me some Snapchats a few weeks ago of just giant. He's like, look at this giant. He's like, nice 2-year-old, 240-inch 2-year-old. I'm like, oh my god, that's wild.
They just don't have.
Which I do like. I'm not a proponent at all of high fence hunting, especially in that matter. But it is interesting to see what they can do and what they can get these deer to grow to. It is pretty interesting.
Well, they're just a pet at that point.
Right, exactly.
Boy, Andy, you are going to piss some people off.
It is, Jeff.
I agree with you. Like
why are you saying?
Because I just know what's going to happen. But those 3 deer that I saw in the pen, and they're in a 600-acre place. I mean, it's not an easy deal, but they go to the same wheat.
Texas is different.
Yeah, but they go to the same wheat field to eat every day. I
don't
mean,
let
it's
them
not
off
like
the hook
it's
that easy, Michael.
It's not like it's a hard hunt for that deer. They go to the same place and eat every day. But you're not gonna, if you see a 180-inch deer in the wild, unless he's chasing a doe, he's not just gonna sit there and look at you from the road at 25 yards away and just watch you for a long time. These deer have it's just a whole different thing. A 170-inch deer in the wild is so much more exciting to see than a 240-inch deer behind a high fence.
For sure. Yeah, it's a whole different deal. For sure.
So what do they I want to know how the hell they genetically modify these deer to make them get that big. Because you're not taking a buck from the wild that was just this monster deer, I guess. Like they're adding shit
so like
to
the value is in I think I'm not real well versed in this, but my buddy was telling me about this ranch. They have like a breeder buck that is like the breed. He's got the genetics, and that's the value. And they breed this deer, and then they actually sell the semen to other high fence operations, and then also the doe. The does have a lot to do with it. So if you get a doe from a certain bloodline of a super trophy buck, you merge those bloodlines, and that's where they're getting these insane insane result is, is breeding a trophy breeder buck with a doe from a trophy breeder buck's litter or whatever you call it for deer.
See, and it's
but yeah,
huge
they're
business,
insane.
big business.
Oh yeah.
It just I don't know. The whole high fence thing, it's lost on me just because. Where's it's a big deer, but it is what it is. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Do you think the same thing if a guy goes to Rio Doce, New Mexico, and goes to the big Indian reservation and shoots an elk that's free range, and he pays $100,000 to shoot the biggest elk they have, and they drive out of a truck and they shoot it out of a meadow where it's at every day?
But it's free range?
It's free. Do you consider that sporting? Because it's the same basic deal.
Probably not. Not
What do you
as
mean?
sporty.
It's the same deal though. That elk is in the same spot every day. They know how big it is. You bid at in an envelope. You put down how much money you want to spend, and if you bid the most, you get to shoot the biggest one.
Jeff, you're losing me here.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna tier it, then it goes high fence, and then I guess that I don't know. It's not as bad as a high fence, but
it's the same basic concept.
I think it's all relative, really. I mean, there's a lot of different circumstances that play into all the different hunts, and to each their own. If it's legal, and if it's,
we need more hunters.
I'm not a proponent of high fence hunting, but there's different levels to that too. There's 200-acre pens in Missouri. There's 60-acre pens. Whatever, and then there's several thousands of acres of ranches in Texas that are high fenced to protect themselves, and it's just different. But I personally don't hunt high fence, and I prefer to do it like I said, like you said. I prefer to do it the harder way, and but like I said, teach their own.
I had a friend of mine that a guy called him up, and he's like, "Hey, you want to shoot a mountain lion?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, we got one for you." So we see it every day. So he gets in his plane and he flies to some place up in Oklahoma. Guy picks him up at the airport like 30 minutes before dark or the sun comes up. They drive him and they're going to put him in a stand. And he says it's dark when he gets in there. And he says as the sun comes up, he starts looking around. And he said this cat comes walking down this trail. Comes walking right down this old trail. And he said, looking around, and he said, I shoot him right at first light. He said, as the sun comes up, look up, and he said, I'm in about a 2-acre freaking pen. It's got a top on it and everything.
That's one place I certainly wouldn't want to be in a pen is with a mountain lion.
He said he was
yikes.
He said he was madder than hell, boy. But he was expecting to shoot this, he thought it was a free range animal. He said, look at he's a 2-acre pen. He said he was madder than hell. Grabbed that cat and got the hell out of there.
Yeah, I would be too.
But it had a roof on it was a cage, basically.
Jeez. Do you like the deer that have like all the shit hanging off of them? I'm not a big deer hunter just because it's in the middle of waterfowl season and that's our bread and butter. But I like just like a classical 8 is what I like. I don't like all the stuff hanging off of them.
Stuff hanging off is what makes them cool.
Like that big deer, like the big deer that you had behind you that you just showed us. Like that's a deer to me. I don't like all the drop tine extra stuff.
Andy's the only person I know that would pass up shooting a drop tine deer.
Well, no. If there's a bunch of them.
He wouldn't pass.
No, there's no way.
Just if he had a choice.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on my
I get what you're saying.
You wouldn't.
I like clean, big, big, clean deer, but like I said, I'm not picky either. You don't get many opportunities at 5+-year-old bucks, so whichever one steps out first, I'm shooting. But we did have a really, really big, nasty, non-typical deer that was the biggest deer that I've ever seen in person on free range that we hunted in northern Missouri on our place. And my business partner Sean and I both kind of hunted him back and forth. Actually, for several years, I had shot him the year before, like 50-something yards, and the arrow just dropped right underneath his belly, just caught some like white hair, and he ended up blowing out the next year. Was a giant freak and close to 200 inches, and we hunted him back and forth and saw him a ton. And Sean ended up shooting him on I think it was late October actually, this pre-rut late October, and he made a bad shot, and we did not find the deer. We looked for him. He actually survived. It was alive for like I want to say maybe like 10 days, 14 days, and then we never got pictures of him again. We ended up finding him dead that later that year when we were burning. So I don't know if he died from infection or what, but that was the biggest deer that we've ever. I think either one of us has ever laid eyes on, and he was a gnarly, trashy deer, and he's pretty dang special. He's one of those deer that like takes your breath away when you see him, kind of like just giant body like a cow too. Just one of those pretty special deer.
Wasn't there a new world record shot this year in Kansas? A non-typical?
I don't know. Last year there was one shot in Kentucky or Ohio. One of the two. I'm bad about keeping up with that stuff, but yeah, I do remember one from Kentucky or Ohio It was Ohio last year, I believe. It was like 260 something or crazy, but there's been a couple, record-breaking type deer harvested over the past couple of years.
Now, you said the deer when you just shot under him, you said the next year he just blew up. What do you think he scored the time that you missed?
He was 5 then, and he was probably 165, 170.
And he got
170s.
And he got up to over 200 the next year.
He was just shy of 200. Yeah, he put on like 20-something inches of like. He grew like a second main beam kind of deal. It's a wild deal. We actually produced a film for Onyx on that buck. And it's a pretty cool story. It kind of documents his whole life of like, because we had encounters with him prior as like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and it was pretty cool. It was a special deer. It was really bittersweet, obviously, the way it ended, and there's definitely some lessons to be learned along the way, kind of deal. But it was one of those deals. It was just special just to have that history with the buck, especially that caliber. I mean, most deer don't even have the opportunity to ever get that big, even if they do reach full maturity. So
that's not typical.
That's really true what you just said, though. We're seeing bigger deer because guys like you that are true deer hunters and horn hunters are conserving, and you're passing up a 2.5, 3-year-old deer that's scoring 160 or 670 inches to get to 5 years. And that's what so many people on these deer leases, they don't understand. They shoot a 145-inch deer. Well, you're not going to be shooting a 170-inch deer if you shoot all your 140-inch deer.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't get that's just like my personal what I like to do. I mean, my current stage in my like hunting career of how I like to hunt, and like we like to manage for whitetails. We do a lot of management stuff. We plan a lot of food plots. We do a lot of stuff. We do have a significant amount of property that we're able to do that. And like I get not everybody can do that, so like it's kind of one of those deals to each their own. Like I've not always been this way, but now I'm at the point in my life where I've shot plenty of 130, 140 inch deer, and I enjoy just letting those deer walk and seeing what they'll get to. That being said, like I said, we try to get them to 5 years old in Missouri, and Missouri's tough. Our rifle season's right in the middle of the rut. We have lots of neighboring rifle hunters, and so it's just hard to get those deer to 5 years old. And so actually last fall before last, 2019, I passed up just a giant 170-inch 3-year-old, and I was just like, oh my God, that's a big deer. And he was like he was a 4-year-old, 170-inch 4-year-old. The year before, he was like a 160-inch 3-year-old. So he's one of those deer that just had the potential to be a giant. And it was tough passing him, and literally got killed like 6 days later during gun season. And after that, I was like, ugh, like I'm just so put off by it. I was like I would have loved to shoot that deer. I should have shot the deer, and I was like, this year going into, I was like, I don't care. Like if they're 4 years old and I want to shoot them and I'm excited, I'm shooting them. So middle of October this year, I had a 165-inch 4-year-old, and he came in and I shot him. I was like, I was so amped up and excited, just as excited as I would be if it was something else. So, like I said, it's kind of that's what's cool about bow hunting or hunting in general. It's just, it's all different to depending on your experience and, personality, what you want to do, and do it your way, and whatever makes it fun and exciting for you.
On these places that you're shooting these deer, how many does are you having to kill?
Not nearly enough. We do have a lot. We have a really high deer density and pretty poor buck to doe ratio. We try to shoot 10, 12, 15 plus at least a year. Probably could do more like 20, but it's tough because we don't do any gun hunting. We probably should do gun hunting. We probably should shoot some does with guns just to be more effective. But it's kind of one of those deals where we we keep like close tabs on things, and we try not to get it too out of whack, so to speak. But yeah, it's not like it's a problem, but we have a lot of bucks too. But it's one of those deals. It's high deer density, so it's just tough no matter what.
Like ranches down here in Texas which there's some ranches down here. It's crazy the amount of deer they have, and they will have it.
Oh, yeah.
They'll go out and kill 100 does when season's over. Have the permits, and they'll do things with kids and stuff, but they have to kill that many to try to get their numbers down. And
we actually hunt. A friend of mine runs a ranch down there called the Wexford, and we go down there every year to help them with their managed lands tags. And he lets us shoot a trophy, big trophy buck a piece. But we shoot. I mean, last year I want to say we shot. We didn't go last fall. The fall before I want to say we shot like close to 30 deer in like 4 days.
Wow!
Like we're shooting everything like does. They shoot everything that's 8 points and less. They shoot no matter the age. So we're shooting, 2-year-old Forkies and 2-year-old Baskerack 8-pointers, and they have to kill. You guys probably know more about this being from Texas, but they have a program where they have to kill X amount of deer, or they'll lose this program because it's so overpopulated and they have so many deer.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys that are on leases here that they will not let you shoot a buck until you shoot your 3 does or whatever it is. And that's pretty common on a lot of leases here. Listen, if you want to be on our deer lease, you're going to pay X amount of dollars. But here's the deal: you cannot shoot a buck until you kill 3 or 4 does or whatever it is. And if you've got 3 family members that are on your deal, you've got to shoot 9 does. But you cannot shoot a buck till you shoot 9 does.
Wow!
Just because it's that.
That
thick.
Yeah, they just got to get the numbers right.
Huh.
Yeah, there's states that have earn a buck tag, I think still, at least at one point they did, where you had to shoot a doe first to earn your, get your buck tag. And I know that the managed hunts that Missouri does and like these parks and lake areas and stuff, they all are that way to where you have to shoot your doe first. And I actually drew one years and years ago. I drew a managed tag, and first morning had a big, huge buck come by like a 160 and hadn't shot my doe yet. And I was like, I think I had a button buck come through, and I was like, I'm not going to shoot this button buck. And then I had this big, huge buck come through, and I was like, oh, okay. And then the next year that came through, I shot it, and I was like, oh, it's probably a button buck, but it was actually a doe. It was a doe fawn, but I was like, okay, I got my buck tag earned. I was like, I'm not making that mistake again.
Okay, now this might seem like a silly question, but that deer that you just like nicked on his belly, and then he just exploded the next year, do you think that arrow might have like done something to him genetically? Like, you think like it maybe scraped his belly? Like maybe you had radioactive shit on your arrow, and like he's Spider-Man the next year? Just grew up?
No. I don't. It was such a there was like no blood on the arrow at all. It may have grazed him a little bit, but like no, definitely not enough injury to see that through antler growth. But I've seen that in the past. Deer that have broken legs, and they have usually on the opposite side they get some sort of deformation.
See, Jeff?
But yeah, I don't think that's what's caused that deer. I think it was just one of those deals where he was an interesting deer always. Like he always had some weird characteristics with his rack, and mainly his pedicle, like where his rack grew out of. Like it was really kind of twisty and just different. And that's the side where he basically kind of grew 2 main beams out of that year. So I don't think it had anything to do with that, but it was just one of those freak deals where he just finally grew something crazy. But
well. It would have been a lot cooler if it had been like a Spider-Man type deer and just, the arrow made him blow up like that.
Yeah, I would be shooting every deer on the farm then.
Yeah, just like barely scraping them. Like
with a blow gun.
You'll be a monster next year, you bastard. How did you? Had you been collecting his sheds? Is that how you knew how old he was, or you can just tell it off the hoof?
So through trail cam photos, I don't think we had many sheds off of him, unfortunately. I know the year before, the year that I nicked his belly, we did not find those sheds. I think we had one shed from the year before. We actually didn't have very many sheds off this buck, just because, they're tough to find. Even the year he was 170, we looked everywhere, but there's a giant cornfield that he could have been in, and you never find him in the cornfield unless you just walk right on him. So But yeah, through trail cameras is how, we kind of had deduced that he was 6 years old. It's so hard to tell. Like, if you just get a big mature buck on camera, it's like, okay, is he 4, 5, 6, 7? I don't know. But like usually with these deer, we have enough history where like we know that they were for sure, 2.5 this year. We try to keep all of our 2.5 and older deer. A lot of 2.5-year-old deer even are just so similar that it's just hard to tell. But usually once they're 3, you can usually tell once they're 3. 2 to 3 is a pretty big jump.
Just because of the mass,
growth, so.
The mass is different on them.
Yeah, just mass, frame, just everything. And we do the only real way to you can send their teeth off and get them aged, but even that you send them to that lab and they test them. It's a 1 year variance. So like most of the time, I can tell you based on how if I can look at 3 years of photos of a deer, I can say okay, he's either 4 or 5, or he's either 3 or 4. So it's easy to be off 1 year, one way or the other. But for the most part, I feel like as long as you have, pictures from 2, 3, and 4, it's pretty straightforward.
Now, if you're shooting this many deer, what do you do with all the meat? Are you sick of eating venison?
No, we eat a lot of it, but yeah, we give a lot away.
Yeah.
We donate a lot. Different states. Usually when I'm traveling, especially, I try to find somewhere local that I can give it away to. Just because it's easier to do. A lot of states have programs. Iowa has the Hush program. Missouri has a similar program in place where you can donate the venison. They process, like certain processors have partnered with them, and they process and donate all the meat. We actually did a deal this year where we shot a bunch of does this late season, and we processed them ourselves, and then we kind of just put a post out there asking if anybody local in the Kansas City area needed meat, and we met with them and gave it to some local people. Just because it was kind of cool to have that more personal connection as opposed to, just donating to an organization and it gets shared with a food bank or whatever. You never really know where that's going. But I also got a list of friends and distant family and friends that are like, all right, hit me up when you need to get rid of a deer. I'll take one, and I'll usually drop it off with the processor for them, and they'll come pick it up. So.
Yeah, and it's funny too because do you ever get that person that's like picky with what cut of meat that you're going to give them? Like they only want the back strap or they only want the tenderloin. Like don't fuck with me with the rump roast.
Yeah.
Like give me the good shit.
Yeah, you get whole deer, nothing.
You're not picking. This is not a supermarket. Yeah. So how did you? Oh, Jeff almost knocked his light over. How did you come into contact to get this show going?
Well, shoot, we've been doing it for Sean and I were in college when we first got started, but we've been doing it for the season coming out this year is our 14th season of the show. So I've been doing it for 15, 16 years now. It's been pretty crazy, but we actually got our, long story short, very, very first start and foot in the door in the industry. We were manufacturing tree arms for filming hunts. Mm-hmm. And Sean's dad owns a machine shop, and we had designed and manufactured it's called the HB Sniper Pro tree arm. And basically it was a big tree arm that bolts to the tree, supports the camera. And at that time, cameras were big and bulky and heavy, especially if you're filming professionally for like a TV show. They were using those big shoulder mount Sony cameras that weighed 40 pounds. So we designed this big heavy duty arm to support the camera. And we wanted to capture a bunch of content to kind of promote the tree arm. So we started filming hunts. We had a group of guys here locally, friends that had filmed hunts. All of us had filmed hunts and had a kind of a passion for filming. And so we started doing it, started capturing stuff. And one thing led to another. We were selling the arms. So we met some people that were in the industry already doing TV shows. We learned more about that business. And we had gathered so much great footage while we were out filming hunts to capture footage to promote the tree arm that we're like, well, we have more than, enough to, what we need to do to promote this tree arm. And we kind of saw an opportunity in the hunting industry. It's changed so much over the past 15 years as far as like quality of content. Mm-hmm. But like 15 years ago, there was no quality content out there. Like there was nothing that showed, that did what we do justice, like as far as like being a bow hunter and the process and everything that goes into it, all the work that goes into it. There was nothing like that. It was, hey, here I am in Kansas. Here comes a big buck. here's the big buck, he's dead, rock and roll music, right on. Like that was it. Like it made hunting look easy.
Right.
And so like Sean and I we're both in college. We were both studying business management, entrepreneurship. We knew we kind of wanted to run our own business, do our own thing, and saw an opportunity to produce a show that was different. And luckily it took, and people enjoyed seeing the process. And our kind of goal was I wanted to be able to like show like friends and family. They're like, man, you are obsessed with bow hunting. What is wrong? Like, why? I don't get it. And I wanted to be able to like basically say, here's a video, watch this video. This is why. Like, it's not killing. It's not about just killing an animal. Like it's the whole process. It's the whole lifestyle behind it all. That's what, drew me into hunting in the first place when I got started when I was a little kid.
You are right. Like, I think back to like the 15 years ago on YouTube, it was insane, some of the hunting videos that you see, because it looked easy for everybody. And I think back to like the waterfowl videos, and you're right. Like, it's like, all right, man, we're here and we're on this turn row, and then like here's birds. You got rock and roll music, and then birds fall, and then truck bed goes up full of birds, and you got hard rock blaring the whole time. And nothing ever really showed, like you said, like the process, like this is why we're doing what we do, or this is how we're doing what we do. So it's funny, YouTube 15 years ago compared to today.
Yeah, and it's all evolved too. Like when we first started, our approach was kind of like a humble team approach, because TV was kind of like, look at me, I'm macho, I'm badass, I don't miss, I don't show misses, I don't show any screw ups, like I'm awesome, like look at me on top of a mountain, I'm cool. Like that's what it was, because really at that point it was like, if you wanted a TV show, it's kind of one of those deals, you foot the bill for your own TV show. So a lot of wealthy guys that wanted to look badass just had their own show or whatever, and so our approach was a little bit different. It was going to be less centered around any one person or personality or whatever, and more about the process, the group, the friends, camaraderie, the family, and the storytelling. And we even initially strayed away from like trying to be informative, because people would be like, this is how you do it, this is my way, and like this is the way to do it, and like it was just came off wrong. We didn't want to like I said, we were in college, like who are we to tell anybody else how to bow hunt? Like, we had some bow hunting experience and had been successful, obviously, but it was just never our approach initially. And now I feel like we still aren't that way with the TV show. We still want it to be more stylistic and storytelling and focus on the overall story. But now it's like an information-based world. Like, they hop on YouTube, and like you talk about waterfowl hunting. We produce a waterfowl TV show too called Heartland Waterfowl.
Yep.
And it's the same way, more about the lifestyle and the stuff behind the hunt. But like, even for me, I am a big waterfowl hunter. I waterfowl hunt a lot, but I always tell those guys, like when we're putting together one of the episodes and there's like a snippet about like their setup and why they're doing what they're doing, I like that, because like I'm a serious waterfowl hunter, but I'm fairly amateur, I would say, because I don't get to hunt nearly as much as those guys do or you guys do, and it's like one of those deals where it's like I just enjoy, that's why the birds weren't working, they made an adjustment, and here's why they are. And so we're kind of in that world now, and we're getting a lot of push for people wanting to learn more and more and get more informative type stuff, which I said is not like what we were founded on initially, but obviously we have a lot of experience doing what we're doing, and so it's neat to share that, and it's the stuff you take for granted too, right? I mean, like you probably don't even think, you're just in natural hunt mode. You just go with the flow, and you're just going through the motions because and you take all that for granted, the stuff that well, people getting started don't know any of that stuff, and so it's a lot of information that they could learn from and be helpful.
That's what I've noticed with this podcast is, when you hunt 7 days a week, you're going to have, it's just inevitable. You're going to have bad hunts. You're going to have good hunts. You're going to have hunts that you wish you hadn't even woke up and gone out of bed for. But I've kind of gone out of my way to highlight those a little bit more than maybe I would some of the successes, just because I want that guy that's just starting out to know, like, it's okay to not to not do good. Like even the professionals and even guys that do it 7 days a week are going to have a day where it just shit is not popping on all cylinders, and it's okay. Like it doesn't make you any less of a hunter to go out and, you know, only shoot 2 or 3 birds or to have birds flaring. Like it's part of the game.
That is normal for most people. That's what most people do. Like,
yeah.
You know, most guys I know that waterfowl hunt, that it's pretty rare if they go out with a big group of guys and shoot a limit. You know, that's just waterfowl hunting.
And I think Instagram, I got such a love-hate relationship with Instagram because Instagram, people do such a good job of highlighting and exaggerating their highs, you know, and it's all piles make smiles and it's big rainouts, and it's just like, that's fun to look at, but that's also dangerous to sell because, you know, now all of a sudden you're taking somebody that could possibly be a lifetime hunter, and they're comparing where they're at compared to where you are, you know. And here's another thing, guys, that waterfowl hunting is an expensive hobby. Like you got to have decoys, you got to have blinds, calls are $150 a piece. It's not a cheap game to get into. And you know that with bow hunting because bows are expensive. But, you know, a guy that hunts 4 times a year, goose hunting, he can't justify spending the amount of money that it takes to compete with guys like us that are doing 7 days a week. And like, this is what we do for a living. So we've got all the equipment that we need, and it's hard. I like showing the successes, but then at the same time, I wish I could put a disclaimer with every post. Like, you might not be here, and that's okay. Like, just do what you can do and grow and put whatever money you can into this because it is an expensive sport, but don't get out of hunting just because you're not at the level of what you're seeing on Instagram because it's all smoke and mirrors anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's always been our approach. Like I said, nobody wanted to show like the mishaps and stuff of like missing and like the stuff that goes wrong. And to me, like, that's what's relatable. Like, listen, I still screw up. I've been doing this forever, and I still screw up. I still make bad decisions. I'm still learning every day. And so, like, you know, everybody's human. And so, like, that's actually some of my favorite, you know, parts of either the waterfowl show or our show and other episodes is like, you know, we don't like draw out the boring, slow times, but we show some of the slow times in a quick way, and some of the struggles. And some of the struggles can be some of the most powerful moments of the episode, or they actually like tee up the success that you finally eventually do get. Because I mean, that's what keeps us coming back, right? If it was every day was a slam dunk and it was easy, like I wouldn't be about it. Like, I enjoy the challenge. That's why I only bow hunt. That's why, you know, I get so hooked on it all is because of the challenge. Because if it was easy, it wouldn't be that fun.
Yeah. Well, you're shooting a freaking goose with a bow, so like you got plenty of challenges.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
I can imagine so. Like you just, because I mean, Jesus Christ, you're having to land this bird to even get a freaking shot off at it.
Yeah, I tried flinging some in the air, and I'm no Tim Wells, so.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you have to.
They're fun. It can be done in the air, but you need a lot of arrows and some guillotines and some flus. But yeah, it's fun. It's a whole different deal. Like I said, I'm here in the Kansas City area. We get a lot of birds in this area just because there's so many lakes in the area. It's right in the flyway, and so we have some spots. Some local spots that get pretty loaded up, and that's what you got to have, because obviously, you know, you're landing a flock of 12 birds and you're shooting one time.
Right.
So if you have a good hunt and you kill, you know, 4 or 5 birds, you could have killed probably 50 or 60 with a shotgun. So
yeah, because I mean, like I said, if the bird doesn't land, like it's hard to get a shot off. So like, you know, there's no telling how many birds you had hovering at 15 yards that wouldn't just put their feet on the ground. That, you know, you'll mow into those with a shotgun.
Yeah, tell me about it. We had a flock come in, and there's a banded bird just.
Oh no shit!
Just hovered and couldn't find a hole, and then just moved on. I'm like, oh
my God. Did you see it was banded, or you looked later on camera and saw that it was banded?
I think we looked later on camera and saw it was banded. And then 2 years ago, I was actually filming, and my buddy Nate was shooting, and these birds short stopped us at like 60. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I saw him coming in. I'm like, he's banded, Nate. I'm like, so take the time, you know, settle in, whatever, blah, blah. So he shoots and he just shoots right underneath his leg, and the bird jumps up and flies off. And I play the video back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a double rivet band. I was like, no. So he had a shot at a double rivet band, but I've killed a couple with bands with the bows over the years. I shot one 2 years ago and knew it was banded, landed at like 15 yards, and I was like, oh God. I was like, it's banded, and I drew back, and I was like trying to like take my time, and I luckily made a good shot. And then probably 4 or 5 years ago, I shot one that I didn't realize was banded. But then after I shot my buddy Brandon that was filming was like, I think that one maybe had a band on it. And I walked up, and sure as shit he did. But yeah, it's fun. I really love waterfowl hunting. I don't get to do it as much as I like you said, because of deer and just the season and the way they coincide. But I go out with the HW guys and shoot them with guns too. I like shotgun hunting geese too, but bow hunting them is just different. It's a different challenge.
Well, and it's tough for you because you're the bow guy now. Like, I'm sure if somebody sees you with a shotgun, they're like, "What the fuck is this guy doing? He's cheating on his bow."
That's what I was like. Yeah, that's what I was like the other day. I was like, all right, these turkeys, they done messed up. I'm getting the gun out. And I actually shot a turkey last year with a gun in Missouri because they were just being pricks. And so it's funny. Yeah, some people are like, oh, cheater, blah, blah, blah. And actually, the overwhelming majority is like, yes, like,
right.
Yes,
he is
like,
one of us. He's normal.
Because they can relate. People, they can relate. They've bow hunted turkeys and been screwed over by them, and they're tough to kill with the bow. And so, yeah, Heartland Bowhunter, we're tied to the bow hunting name. I joke around with Sean. I go, yeah, it's Heartland Bowhunter, but our mini series that we produce for turkey hunting is called Full Strut. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's Full Strut. Doesn't say anything about bow hunting, I was like, let's whip out some shotguns. So.
And there's something satisfying to me whenever that bird is, where you want them. And then like you decleat them with a shotgun. It's oddly, especially like if they're being pricks for several days, and then you get one just like good shot at 10 yards and it just mollywops them. And you're like, okay, I can breathe, and I can. That's going to give me the fuel to keep going for these little bastards.
Exactly. That was me in Colorado. Like, we started season. I killed both my Kansas birds in 3 days, I think, in Kansas. Awesome hunts. And then we go to Colorado in 4 days of like all day, season's open all day. So all day grinding and hunting. And I was just like, oh, and we're toting around, camera stuff and everything and blinds, and we're setting up. I bet we had freaking 30 different setups. And I was just worn out, and I was like, this is a great way to get burned out before Missouri opens. Missouri opens on Monday. And I was like, this is a great way to get burned out before season. But just literally the redemption yesterday morning was just like, all right. Like, it was, all this was worth it. Like, it was, it was fun. So, yeah, they can be tough. But like with a shotgun, the cool thing about hunting with a shotgun, which drives me, which is crazy because like most people don't. But like if I'm hunting with a shotgun and a decoy, I'm going to sit there and watch the show. Right. And I'm going to let that bird, I'll let him beat the decoy up for 20 minutes just to, enjoy the show before I pull the trigger. So many people I watch, like, you watch a bird, like, get barely to the decoys.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, like, let them put on it, like, enjoy it for a second. But I get it. People get amped up and excited, just like when they're bow hunting and they draw too soon and spook the bird or whatever. But yeah, that is a nice thing. Like, if the bird's in the decoys and you got a shotgun, he's dead. Like, dead to rights.
He's dead.
Like, with a bow, it's not always that way.
I had a client one time, he shot my decoy. He took a nap. He took a freaking nap, and like I got up, and I think I'm like readjusted them because the wind did something weird, and like I readjusted it. So when he woke up, they weren't in the order that they were when he fell asleep. And like, so I'm sitting there, and I sit behind him, 10, 15 yards or so. And he starts raising his gun. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I had a bird sneak in on me, and I didn't freaking know it. And like, he raises his gun, and I'm like, I'm doing this number, like I'm looking for the bird. Like, what the fuck does he see? And then, boom. I'm like, what the fuck? And I see my decoy just flop over. And I got like, it's a quarter strut Jake. It's not even like a full Tom strut or anything. It's a quarter strut Jake, and he just blasts it. And I'm like, what the hell? He's like, oh, that they've moved. They moved. I'm like,
They moved.
They're on a stake.
You were sleeping for 30 minutes is why they moved. I got up and moved some shit around because I didn't want to wake you. You were snoring, bud. I'm like, what the fuck? But I did. He just blasted that son of a bitch. So I don't know. It's better.
I've never shot a turkey decoy. I did maybe lay into some of those. What do you call those silhouette goose decoys?
That's just casualty of war.
Yeah, had a bird land or just fly real low and
yeah, it happens.
Blasted some of those. Put some holes through those dive bombs.
Yeah, they're they're not too expensive. Whenever you look at per decoy, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Oh yeah, we got some big feet with arrows stuck through them too.
Oh, I bet.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you miss a goose and right behind it, right to the decoy.
So
that happens more often than not.
So how much are you practicing with your bow every day?
No, I don't shoot nearly as much as people probably assume, or as much as I probably should, but I do shoot a lot. I've been doing it so long that it's just like one of those habits that you get into, and you get a lot of repetition, and it's kind of like muscle memory. But yeah, I mean, I do shoot quite a bit, and we're shooting the new. What really has been helpful, I feel like, with the geese and turkeys too. We're shooting that new Garmin Zero sight.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
I have not.
It's a bow sight with a built-in rangefinder.
Oh.
And it's basically got a clear, glass piece in the middle. So there's nothing in there. And then at full draw, you have a little button on your riser, and you can range your target. And so there's a reticle and a dot, and you put it on the target and you range your target. And so for goose hunting, if the bird lands and it's 34 yards, in your clear glass, you get one dot, one LED for exactly 34 yards. And so it's like it almost looks like a red dot,
That's badass.
But instead of saying 34 yards, let me put my 30 and 40 and put the goose between, mm-hmm. You're looking exactly at one LED of one spot where you're going to aim. And so when you're talking, vitals that are just, the size of a baseball, every inch matters. So being precisely accurate with that sight has been really, really nice, especially at longer ranges. I mean, you look at like a gap from 50 to 60 and you're 55 or 56, 57, that's a couple inches every yard.
That's badass. That's a hell of an invention that they came up with.
It's cool. It's really cool. It's not legal in all states. Some of the western states, it's not legal. Or Colorado, for example, not legal there. But it's good in Texas. It's good in Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. Most of the like pure whitetail states.
Yeah. Texas doesn't give a
legal,
shit. But everything's legal in Texas.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like one of those deals where it's old laws kind of prohibit you from using it. Kind of like the light up nocks used to be.
Right.
When light up nocks first came out, they were illegal in so many states, and the states were like, oh, wait a minute, like this light up knock doesn't give you any sort of advantage. It helps hunters see where their arrow goes and helps them recover more game because of it.
Yeah.
And so then they changed and updated the rules, and I think Garmin is lobbying with a lot of these other states to try to get them to make amends to the rules, to make them legal, because really, social media, online, everybody, you're going to have some haters, of course, but some people are like, that takes all the skill out of bow hunting. Well, it doesn't shoot the damn animal for you. All it does is make you better, makes you a better hunter, and makes you more effective. And like for some of our guys, our group of guys are mostly in our mid 30s, and then we have dads that are in their 60s and whatever, and like they're like, it's a site that helps them be a better hunter for sure.
Right.
Like, no offense, Jeff, is that your dad's name?
Yes.
No offense, Jeff, but it seems like we call it dad probs. Some of the dads, they just start slipping, and they just even though they taught us all the tactics growing up, they start doing stuff. You're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? and so like it helps them dial and helps them focus, and it really just helps you be a better shooter, especially if you understand and you use it properly. It's only a good thing.
Well, and I think if something could make you a more effective hunter and not have as many, maybe wounded animals or something, you figure that people would think that it's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those deals. It's not, I guess it just gets a lot of bad attention because it's new and different and high techy, and but it's not like the way it's set up now, the sight, like you have you can't just range at like 100 yards and it's going to give you a 100-yard pin. You just bomb it.
Right.
You know, you have to calibrate the sight so it knows how fast your bow is, so it knows, you know, what pins to give you. And so if you haven't calibrated it out a certain distance and shot it and told it exactly how you hit and dial it in, it's not going to give you that pin. So you have to set it up to get the distance, so it's not going to just let you just spray and pray.
So the lighted nocks were illegal for a long time? I did not know this.
Yeah, in some states, yeah. I remember when I first started hunting in North Dakota, they were not legal, and they changed the law. I think Kansas was the same way. I think they were initially illegal.
And all it does is let you know where the bow or where the arrow went.
Yeah, it was just old, like I said, old law, the way it was written, like no electronic device on the bow.
Right.
Well, it's a battery-powered nock, so it was meant for, like, you can't have a laser sight on your bow or something like that, you know. Is why they wrote the laws, and so they amended them to where it allows it now. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a state that still doesn't allow them to shoot. Like Oregon, for example, does not allow expandable broadheads. So you have to shoot a fixed blade broadhead. So that's a pretty bold rule in my opinion. Like I shoot a fixed blade at 90% of, you know, the game that I hunt, even elk, even big game. And I think it's one of those laws, like when fixed blades first came out, everybody's like, whoa, like, I don't know, mechanical, like everything mechanical fails and this is bad and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, now, you know, nowadays everything's so well made and so improved and all the designs to where they're really, really effective heads, and in some cases more effective than what a fixed blade might be. And so,
what's
there's just those old
what's their reason?
laws.
It's just an old law that they don't feel like changing?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure, especially like mechanical broadhead manufacturers have lobbied to try to get those changed. But yeah, I think it's just an old law, and I'm not sure why they haven't updated it. So lighted nocks are probably also illegal in Oregon, if I had to guess.
Probably. So before we let you go, last question: do you ever get buck fever? You've been doing this forever now. Is there any time?
Oh yeah,
you still do?
I'm a little different. Like I get, and this is just how I am personally, but like I get amped up, but I get very hyper focused in the moment. Like I just analyze everything. I see the movement of the deer. I watch their body language. I try to decide, you know, when to pick the bow up, when to draw the bow, wait for the right shot, wait for the opportunity. And I feel like I'm really calm, like in that moment. The second I release that arrow, like that's when it all hits me.
Right.
I mean, I'll get the shakes and get my heart rate will be pounding, and but I feel like I'm pretty good at remaining really focused, you know, prior to the shot. There's been, of course, cases where you get rattled, you know, where something catches you off guard or something goes wrong, and then you're kind of scrambling. And I think honestly, bow hunting is hugely mental, and I think managing that excitement is the difference between capitalizing on opportunities and not. And you know, but bow hunting, I've been bow hunting long enough to know that like there's so many instances where like one thing made all the difference in the world. Like you made one mistake, you made one decision wrong, and you're not going to get that animal, not going to have that opportunity, and it slips between the cracks, and they don't come around often. Like just the way that we hunt, the style that we hunt, and filming the hunt, like it's tough, it's difficult. And so like it's easy for one thing to screw that up. I think it was like 2 seasons ago, I was like thinking back of all the successful hunts that I had, and I was like, that could have easily, flip of a coin, been over with, gone wrong. So I think managing that mental side of it and managing that excitement is huge.
Now, have you always been good at kind of managing your excitement, or was there a phase, you know, early on in your bow hunting career where your nerves might have got the best of you?
Yeah. Before I ever killed my first deer, my first time bow hunting, or first year bow hunting out, I had some deer coming into range and does, and I was all amped up. I've been practicing, ready to go. I was like 13 or something, and I grabbed my bow, and I'm like shaking like a leaf. Here comes these does and these fawns, and I'm like, oh, you know, and I go to pull my bow back, and I just I couldn't get it back. I was like, oh, I let it down again. I'm like, and then the deer sees me, and I'm like, and I finally get it back. And she's like staring at me like looking around. I'm like, oh God, I gotta shoot. I don't even remember. I don't even remember if I picked a spot, put the pin on, I just pulled the trigger. I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I think I got one. He's like, well, did you hear it hit it? I was like, no. He's like, well, did you see your arrow? I was like, no. He's like, did you see any blood? I was like, no. I was like, I don't know. I get down, I find my arrow. This is back in the aluminum arrow days. I find my arrow in several pieces.
Oh shit.
No hair, no blood. I was like, I must have missed, like hit a tree or something. I was like, I don't know what happened, Dad. It was a blur. And I think that's about 90% of people's first bow hunting experience. But yeah, so I think it's one of those deals you learn to manage as you grow and as you hunt more and you get more experience and you learn more and you figure out different situations for sure. But it doesn't take away, for me, it doesn't take away the excitement of it at all. The fact that I've, been doing it so long and have shot so many deer, none of that has changed. The end result is I still get an insane rush from deer, turkey, whatever it might be. I love the pursuit and I love the hunt.
So you were 13 when you started bow hunting.
Yeah, I think I was 13. Yeah. I started gun hunting with my dad, young age, went with him before I could even hunt myself. And then, started gun hunting. He's a hunter, but not an avid hunter by any means. They would do the opening weekend of deer camp every year, would maybe go back the next week, a day or two, and or the second weekend, but less than 10 days a year. And Missouri's gun season is 10 days long. And I was just like, man, I'll never forget. That was my favorite thing to do. I would skip out in school, leave, go down Friday night and set up camp. My parents are actually families in the restaurant business. So we'd set up camp, bring down a shitty old camper that we had and throw some tents up, but basically just slumming it at deer camp. But my dad would bring steaks from the restaurant, beer battered lobster tail. He'd bring a fryer. We ate like kings. And I was just a kid or whatever, but just sitting around the campfire and cutting up with those guys and that kind of stuff is what really got me hooked. And I was just like, man, I shot my first deer with a rifle and I was like, 10 days a year, it isn't going to cut it. That's not going to cut it for me. I got to do more. And bow hunting wasn't that big. There wasn't a ton of information out there like there is now. And so I wanted to learn bow hunting. And so I, did some looking online on forums, went and got a bow from a local, I actually bought it from Dick's Sporting Goods, my first bow, I think, and got it set up and just kind of learned what I could. And that's how Sean and I, my business partner, kind of met and gravitated towards one another because his dad was actually a bow hunter. Rex was a bow hunter all of his life, more serious hunter. Sean had started bow hunting before I did, and we knew each other from school. And so then we kind of linked up and started bow hunting together, and that's kind of how our friendship got started.
And that's bad. That goes back to that what you said earlier, one decision, and that was the one decision that you made in your life at 13 years old that got you to where you are today. It's crazy whenever you look at it, the whole picture of how your life has played out, and that one decision of trying to prolong your hunting season got you a career and got you in front of the camera. Crazy.
Yeah, and I never had aspirations to do this for a living and do what I do for a living necessarily, but kind of one of those deals where it was my passion. I was hell bent on doing everything that I could to make it happen, and fortunately, we were able to find a niche and an opportunity and run with it. And I don't hunt for a living. I get that all the time. Oh, you hunt for a living? Probably you do too.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an outfitter guy. Yeah, you hunt for a living. Yeah, okay. Well, not exactly. We run businesses for a living that afford us the ability to spend a lot of time in the field and be outside and do what we love. And for that, I am very, very thankful and grateful. But, it's not just the highlight reel you see on Instagram, like you said. So I've been gone for 10 days hunting turkeys, chasing, and I'll be sitting in this office chair getting caught up and paying for that for the next few days for sure, at least until Missouri opens, and then I'm bitching out again.
There's definitely a trade-off. So tell people where they can see your show. Give your show a nice little plug. What times it come on? Where's it come on? All that good stuff.
So Heartland Bowhunter are on Instagram, Facebook. Social media is the easiest way to kind of keep up with what we have going on. We have in this day and age content everywhere. Yeah. So our show, season 14 of our show, which will be our new season, will be coming out this late June, early July on Outdoor Channel. So new episodes from this past fall. We do 13 episodes for Outdoor Channel. that'll air during third quarter this year. We're dropping new full strut episodes, spring turkey content every week, every Sunday right now. We're dropping those on our YouTube channel, actually on Facebook, Instagram. We're on Amazon Prime. We have a Hulu, not Hulu, Roku channel. We're basically everywhere. Try to be everywhere. So if you guys are consuming content somewhere and you can't find it, then let us know. But we're releasing new turkey episodes every Sunday right now. So, and then we do a digital series called Behind the Draw as well. It's all digital online that we'll release later this fall, sometime in September. So best way to keep up is just through social media. So
badass, man. Well, we really appreciate it. I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been a fun, pleasurable conversation. So good luck. You said Monday Missouri opens up for you, so hopefully those birds are a little bit more cooperative than they were in Colorado. But good luck to you this spring, and if you ever get down our way, give us a call, and we'd love to have you out here, bud.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. Good luck to you guys as well. Kill some turkeys. Thanks for having me.
I'll do my best. Talk to you later, bud. Bye.
See ya.
Michael Hunsucker, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Andy.
All right. Well,
are we done?
Do you want to be done?
I had an emergency.
Do you want to be done?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got to do taxes today.
It is the second quarter.
Yes. And we're behind because yesterday the power was out because we had a storm. How do we lose a storm on a fucking pea-sized hail and 50-mile-an-hour winds?
You lost power out here?
Yeah, we had power out here for 4 hours yesterday afternoon.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why we're behind right now. We were supposed to do all that yesterday. We couldn't do anything. Got kid baseball today, got canceled.
Yeah. I drove, yeah. That son of a bitch in that field is like a swimming pool.
Well, I want, just speaking of swimming pools, I'm glad you said that. Next weekend we're all going to watch Dylan play, right?
Yep.
Guess who cannot be the designated water trolley?
Oh, because you can't lift?
No, I'm not supposed to be in a pool or anything for 6 weeks. So
just
guess
because that can seep in?
So guess who gets to swim with the grandkids?
They can swim by themselves.
Okay. I told Michelle, I said, you're going to have to find somebody else. It'll be Jesse because Jesse will. I know it ain't going to be you or your mom.
Listen, I was anti this from the beginning.
Why are you anti doing it?
I don't like spending the night anywhere.
It was your wife's idea.
I understand, and I've had a conversation with her.
Did you straighten her out? Because last I looked on my credit card, we were going.
I don't like not sleeping, especially like, here's the deal.
We're an hour away from home.
An hour away.
That don't make no sense either. I was the same way. But Mom said, okay. Now, I heard y'all have date night and we're keeping the kids one night or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll just go out to probably like a bar or something.
So that night?
Probably.
So not only...
Because I want to be back. I don't want to... If we do it Saturday night, then, like, that's another night that I'm getting in late. So, like, after the game, I want to get what we got to do done.
So Friday night, I've got all 3 grandkids are sleeping in our hotel room?
I don't know that they're going to sleep in your hotel room, but
okay.
Jesse and I, we're going to go do something.
Okay, well, that's nice.
You can't pass this opportunity up.
Well, me and Mom could have had a date night.
Y'all just came back from fucking Mexico.
That wasn't a vacation.
Jeff.
We can have a date night anytime, though.
You were in Mexico.
I know.
On the beach.
Yes.
Doesn't matter where.
You could go to Mexico on the beach.
I'm not doing it.
I know it. Chicken shit.
I'm not doing it.
All right, let's get off here. I got things to do.
All right. Actually, I think somebody's going to come out and shake our hand and say hello. So we do need to get off here.
Someone's coming to what?
Somebody's going to come say hello. A big fan is in the area. So.
Oh, I talked to him earlier.
Is he coming right now?
I don't know if he's coming today or not.
He said he's like 30 seconds away.
Oh, I guess he'll be here then.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the podcast. We will have 3 new ones up next week. Bye-bye. Go check out all of our sponsors. Check out Bangtail Whiskey. They ship whiskey straight to your door. Goose Creek Retrievers, Gundog Outdoors, Boss Shot Shells, Pacific Calls, Blind Grass, Dive Bomb Industry, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Dirty Duck Coffee. If your coffee sucks, it ain't the duck. Lucky Duck. They got a brand new dog kennel out for those big boys like Lou. And the Looking Glass Duck Club back in action.